You can sing in the pre-show. I don't care. As long as it's not copyright music, you can sing whatever you'd like.
I think I can sing anything I want, right?
That's a question for Chris that I don't have the answer to.
Yeah, Chris, what's the answer to that? Can I sing whatever I want and not get sued?
Is lyrics intellectual property that we cannot cover?
Let me get back to you on that. Let me talk to the lawyers. Let me see what we're allowed to do.
My expectations are going to be zero, and that way I'm not going to be let down.
It's always good to have no expectations.
Lyrics are probably intellectual property. If I had to take a guess at it.
Hello,
I'm gonna
Alex.
say they're not. I'm going to say they're not.
Hello, Braden.
Wait a minute. Why am I a separate entity?
I think just because you're the new guy.
We're closing in on a year, boys.
Really?
In November, it'll be a year.
That's still
ways away. So we're only 6 months away from a year.
I mean, see?
By the time November gets here, the Jets will be 1-8. We have a lot that can happen between now and then.
Sam, you heard incorrectly because Kyle and I correctly sided with Devin White over Demario Davis.
General manager. I'll tell you that right now.
Yes,
because you got a bunch of groupthink going on over there.
Sam did everything on that project, Joe. Don't lie. If anything, you're the assistant GM.
That's right.
Good leaders delegate.
Can I
feel valued for their work?
Can I steal the stage for just 2 seconds?
No.
Well,
yes, maybe.
Is Kyle the commissioner? We'll just wait until
this is awkward. Yeah, let's put the whole stream on pause.
I thought you were is Kyle Krabs the commissioner?
No,
I'm like,
is Kyle what? Is Kyle the commissioner? And so I'm waiting to see if he responds in the chat. He knows what I'm going to ask him. I just don't know if he's here.
Hold on. Does Vontel, you want to go box of Built Bar on that? I'll give you. It doesn't even have to be that exact thing. The Jets are 3-3 in the AFC East. If that happens, I'm sending you a box of Built Bars. But if they're less than, I want a box of Built Bars.
I will also send Vontel a box of Built Bar if the Jets win 3 games in the AFC East this year.
Just let us know, Vontel.
Yeah, Vontel, that's up to you, man. I'll put it on the sheet. It'll go on the.
Be our first fan or listener to analyst bet.
Deal.
He's in.
Yes.
My guy's either get 2 boxes of Built Bar, or he's going to have to drop 2 boxes. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
My guy. I'm glad we can get him involved. Yeah, make sure you use promo code LOCK15.
Right.
Now watch us lose this bet.
So wait. So Vontel, you make the bet, and then it's on me to back you up with your bet. All right, you know what?
You're the Jets guy.
Vontel, how about this? I'll split it with you. So if we lose the bet, you pay for 1 box of Built Bars. I got the other. There you go. That's how I'll back you up, Vontel.
I want Vontel's box. Actually, Joe, I'll split Vontel's box with you. We'll pick the flavors, and I'll give you half of it.
We can eat them all on the stream, just one by one.
Right. No, we'll do 30 minutes of just eating that entire box. And we'll down it with Chris's tears.
Okay. We're in. Okay. We're locking it in right now. This is a dudes/Vontel is how I'm writing it down. In the Jets winning 3 games in the AFC East. I don't think they're going to do this, Vontel. What did you do to us?
2021. In the year 2021.
But all right, we're here.
Wait. I don't want to say it. I got to.
Don't. Well, I don't. Yeah, don't do something dumb here before we even get started.
Typically, Mike.
Chris, are you ready to roll?
Yes. I wanted to make sure that we had everything ready to go.
You were just hoping and praying Kyle Kamish would show up so that you could do whatever.
I had a bit ready prepared. I had to ask him a question. Yeah, he's not here.
And now we're bleeding viewers, so we might as well roll Tide.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes here on the Draft Dudes live stream, brought to you by Mighty Swell. Fun fact. You have to go back to 2018 to find 3 divisional wins for the New York Jets, claiming 1 in 2018, 2 in 2019, and 0 in 2020.
Wait, we're betting they win as many games in 2021 in the division that they've won in the last 3 years combined. Did I
I'm
get
not
that?
betting that.
Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, I somehow am betting that, right? I somehow have
Chris,
found myself in this
don't get mad.
pit of misery. No, Vontel and I.
Good evening.
Cheers. Good
Yeah,
evening.
Mahalo.
Cheers.
I don't have a drink because I was too busy waiting for Kyle Commission. I thought he was going to be here a little quicker for me to do my little pre-show bit with him. And Sam, you are absolutely correct. He probably has not done that. I have to get the so for those of you just joining us for the first time, guys have been making predictions on the show the last couple of weeks for every game in the National Football League. We are up to the Super Bowl, so there's only one game to predict on tonight's show. So the guys are going to predict that. We're going to show you what the finalized draft order is, and next week the guys are going to do their first 2022 mock draft. But this is also going to be an open forum. Give me a second, Kyle. I'm just setting the stage here real quick. Open forum for you guys to throw questions in there. We didn't get to some of your guys' takes on Monday, so we'll get to those as well. So that's the kind of rundown for the show. Going to be a little free form, but we are at some point going to get to predicting that game. Yes, Kyle.
Would also like to propose that we submit our reactions to the draft order while we review it.
Okay.
How to make observations on what we believe teams need, so on and so forth. And just gonna be like, oh, this team might be screwed. Let's have a little conversation about how the draft order that we picked materialized.
Absolutely. And I believe, Joe, you mentioned this in the pre-show, and I don't know if Kyle wants to do this at the start of the show or at the end of the show, but there needs to be a conversation about hamburgers and ice cubes.
Yeah, let's do this now.
Okay.
Let's do this now.
Yeah, I can get everything set up while you're doing it.
So we recorded earlier today the Friday free-for-all for tomorrow's episode of Draft Dudes. And I'm scrolling through Facebook while we're getting ready to get started, and I saw one of my old friends from high school had commented on some BS account that just posts a bunch of stuff like content creators, whatever. And it's like, to keep your burgers from getting dry in the middle on the grill, make sure you put an ice cube on the top of them while you have them on the grill. So I just wanted everybody's reaction to that. I want to know specifically people in the comments, because heaven knows you post a picture of your grill, you are immediately opening yourself up to get grilled by anybody who sees that photograph. So I'm curious, viewers, Joe, Chris, has anybody ever tried grilling hamburgers with an ice cube on the top? Or you could just learn how to work a grill. I don't know.
That's going to be my suggestion. If you're worried about it being dry in the middle, how about you just be better at grilling?
Don't put it directly over top of the flame.
That was my thought. Like, you're coming up with a symptom, or you're coming up with a cure to a problem that I don't have. Right? Like, I don't understand. I don't relate with this. I don't cook hamburgers and experience them being dry in the middle. So I've never thought about remedies to solve this problem.
Everybody in the chat is with us thus far,
which is good.
Makes me very happy. Makes me very happy. Yeah, we can all, we can all argue about each other's teams and how many wins you're going to get in the division, but at the very least, we know you don't put ice cubes on burgers. My next question, as it pertains to burgers, and then we can move on, is this:
Sure,
thick burgers, thin burgers.
Thick.
Yeah, I go thick burger most of the
time.
Like
how? Give me a George R.R. Martin novel thick, or
we'll go like that big.
I'm looking at George R.R. novels right now to realize not that thick. That maybe about 75% of the George Martin novels I have on the shelf over there.
I prefer a thicker burger.
And if you roll your own burgers, remember, a little dimple in the middle there helps you.
Correct.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Oh, okay. Can we talk about, speaking of grilling? I have a bone to pick with Mr. Joe Marino. So my friend posted on his Instagram a thing to his story of him grilling. He was grilling a steak.
Like a 3 time a week thing.
And I commented on it because it was the first time that I had seen it, because I recently just followed Joe on Instagram. So I commented on it, and I thought, hey, we're going to have a nice little back and forth about what he's grilling. And he just didn't say anything. Like, I said something to him, and he just left me on red. Like, he just didn't respond.
I would never, Chris.
I hearted it. I'm pretty sure I hearted that.
Look at him. He's looking for it right now to go see if he's an asshole or not.
Even if you did heart it, like you,
I hearted it.
But you couldn't.
I hearted the damn message.
That's almost worse than not responding, though. It's like, I'll give you the time of day to double tap it and acknowledge it, but I'm not going to actually give you anything back.
Yeah, but I thought I was gonna be able to be like, hey, what are you cooking? Like, hey, how's it? Like, no, nothing. I just got
shameful.
Nothing. It's unbelievable. Okay,
you didn't get nothing. You got a heart. It was an acknowledgement. Like, hey, man, thanks for acknowledging.
Yeah, that's like when I post a picture on Instagram. Like, I know my mom's gonna like the photo. Like, okay, that's the least you can do. That is the bare minimum that you can do is
well, now I feel bad because that's pretty much what I mostly do. You know, like
to anybody and everybody. Joe's Instagram
I'm just
etiquette.
pissing off my friends left and right. I had no idea. I thought they were happy that I was acknowledging that they said
Chris,
something.
we want to go across the bottom. Thanks.
It doesn't default to across the bottom, so I have to let it.
I understand that. I understand.
Yeah, this is your official stance on this.
Look at Braden. He gets it. Joe literally said less, and I got in trouble.
That's fair. That's fair, Braden. That's fair. So here we are. For those of you, again, just joining us for the first time, the guys have predicted every game on the schedule and have gotten to this point, including the postseason, that the Super Bowl is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs against the Green Bay Packers.
Didn't we put the Titans over the Colts?
Did you put the Titans over the Colts? Do I have an error here?
Remember how steaming mad Rahul was at the end of last?
That could be. Oh, you're right, Dickie. Sorry. Make that fix for you real quick.
This is right that it's Chiefs and Packers. I don't think
some of the schedules might be wrong on this.
Yeah, we changed some stuff there.
Sorry.
So we need to pull a screen grab from last week's.
I will do that right now while you guys are deliberating over this game. Hold on here. This is easy. This is an easy.
See, Rahul's confirming he's still angry that we had the Colts out of the playoffs.
Yo, I'll tell you what though. Honestly,
I'll tell you what, man.
I'm not all the way there like some people are, but the Titans people in my life are feeling themselves right now over this team. Like Teron Davenport said that the Tennessee Titans are Super Bowl contenders. I've heard that from
and let's be completely. Let's give Teron his due. Teron is phenomenal.
Right,
he's one of the better beat guys across the league, and he's a great dude, and he's always been great to us.
Yes,
but you seem surprised.
Yes, I am very surprised that he said that. Tyler Rowland, host of the Locked On Titans, he's telling me that the Titans are Super Bowl contenders.
Well,
Titans fans are serious about this, man.
If you put yourself in their shoes,
I would love to.
They were in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago, right? They returned to the playoffs this past year, won 11 games. They have a quarterback whose production, say what you will about numbers and box score scouting and all that kind of stuff, but his numbers over the last, 20 games is a direct 1-for-1 with what Patrick Mahomes has put up. And now you add Julio Jones, and you figure the defense can't be any worse. So why would they not think that way?
I think because I like their football team. And I like Ryan Tannehill, and I love Derrick Henry, and I love A.J. Brown, and I love Julio Jones, and I love 3/4 of their offensive line. But we still have a question at right tackle. We still don't have much depth at playmaker outside of those big three. Now, I understand it's as big of a three as you could get, but what else they have, very much a question mark. I don't think that they have the defensive line depth. They're counting on Jayon Brown and Rashaan Evans to bounce back. They're counting on Janoris Jenkins to not continue his decline. They're counting on Caleb Farley to be healthy. We'll see what happens from Breon Borders and Christian Fulton. Is Monty Hooker ready to be the guy opposite of Kevin Byard? Like, are we sure that Bud Dupree is going to be healthy at 28 years old and coming off of an ACL tear in November? I'm just saying that there's reasonable questions to ask about this football team before we say, you know what? Yeah, you know what? They're an AFC contender. I think they're an AFC playoff team, but I'm not super convinced that they're ready to go win multiple games and really challenge for the AFC championship game.
Right.
We are now fixed, gentlemen. I have updated the Titans to the correct record. The Patriots also got another victory. Everything is now fixed to the way it was last week when we finished this.
And I feel like we are obligated to say that at some point over the next 6-8 weeks, whenever it is, if Aaron Rodgers gets traded, the first thing we're going to do is come back and
completely revisit this. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, the good news is all you really have to do is address whatever team Rodgers goes to. You have to readdress the Packers with their individual 17-game schedules, and then you rework the playoffs based on what the domino effects look like. Mm-hmm. So it should be an easy fix. It's just a matter of if this shoe drops, and right now we're operating under the assumption that Rodgers will play for Green Bay. If that changes, this will change.
And if I may comment on one thing with that, who knows what they get back for Aaron Rodgers, but we've seen some really high-level people speculate on that. And these packages are massive, and they include not just draft capital, but meaningful young talent right now.
Yeah.
And so
like
Jordan
multiple
Love is
starters.
Right. Like Green Bay giving up Bradley Chubb, Noah Fant, and high draft picks, right? Like, so we're talking significant return here. And the ultimate wild card is we have no idea what Jordan Love is in the NFL, but it's something to be mindful of, because the Packers roster is really, really good, and it's going to get better, obviously, outside of quarterback if they were to trade Aaron Rodgers.
Right. So that'll be an interesting, Ross asking in the comments, if Rodgers gets traded, do the Packers still win the division? I think it's going to be close.
Right.
I think Chicago, has a lot of good talent in big spots. They have to figure out the quarterback situation. We need to get them off of this Andy Dalton's our starting quarterback hill that Matt Nagy seems ready to die on. And I get it. You probably signed him and promised him the starting job. And lo and behold, now you got Justin Fields here. So
can I try to explain this? I think I have a very reasonable explanation for this.
Okay.
Do we all agree here that Matt Nagy's job is on the line this season?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's more likely to allow him to stick around by the end of this season? He starts with Justin Fields right away and the team underperforms and doesn't make the playoffs. Or second, starts Andy Dalton. It's got to get off to a quick start. It's got to say, listen, we need to take time. We need Justin to learn the offense. We need to make sure that he's ready to go. You start with Andy Dalton. You start the year slow. You start the year 1 and 2. You got that week 4 game against Detroit. You go, okay, can't allow this season to spiral out of control. Can't start the year 1 and 3. Boom, we make the change to Justin Fields. We go from there.
I feel like you're wasting 3 games for no reason. If you're willing to put him in week 4, he should be playing week 1.
It's an optics thing. There's an optics thing here that I think matters for him to potentially have another out to save his job.
I think the optics are Chicago has fumbled the quarterback position at every single turn thus far. So if you fumble the decision to start the wrong quarterback and you start slow and you finish 500, you're going to be the goose, as far as I'm concerned, regardless of what happens with Justin Fields.
I think the most meaningful thing that Matt Nagy can do to continue as the head coach of the Chicago Bears is very similar to what happened with Bill O'Brien with Houston, and like strip away everything you think about the end of the Bill O'Brien era. That was a team that went 9-7, 9-7, 9-7. They go 4-12. They make the move to go get Deshaun, and Deshaun, despite playing on a bad football team, looked really good, right? Like he showed that he's going to be a superstar. And I think that bought Bill O'Brien more time and the good graces. And I think Matt Nagy following a similar model, obviously not the sustained, the long play there, but that same thing where you show, hey, I am the best person for Justin Fields. He's the future of this franchise, and trust him with me, and let me show you what I can do with him right away.
So do we want to talk about Packers Chiefs?
Sure. You guys are the ones making the prediction. I'm just here if there's a tie.
I really struggle with, I understand Kansas City had all this influx in offensive line talent, and Kyle Long's already hurt. We'll see if he's healthy ready for the start of the season. But like, how do you not pick Kansas City, where they brought back every major piece? They massively upgraded their offensive line across the entirety of the front. I know there's some people that are skeptical that, you lost Mitchell Schwartz and you had a bunch of starters who were established, but you look at Orlando Brown Jr. coming into the mix. You look at Joe Thuney coming into the mix. Those two on the left side by itself is a major upgrade, regardless of what you think of Orlando Brown Jr. Being a left tackle versus a right tackle. I think his length and stylistically, he's going to mesh really well. You got Duvernay Tardif coming back, regardless of what happens with Kyle Long.
Right, that's the point there. Yep.
So, and then what they lose? What they lose in the skill position? Sammy Watkins went to Baltimore. Like, whoop-de-doo. I'm sorry. Like, my expectations for Kansas City are very, very high.
I will say, and that you and I see Sammy Watkins differently, and this is not necessarily me trying to say anything against what you just said. Chiefs people will tell you that when Sammy Watkins was in the lineup versus when he wasn't, that Patrick Mahomes just had a lot more of a rhythm about him, and some of the drifting in the pocket and those types of things didn't happen to the same level. And so
what do you attribute, or what do they attribute that to?
Probably the spacing that he brings when he's paired with all those other players. But you'd like to think that at this point, Demarcus Robinson, who's been there since 2016, that he can easily take over that role. And plus, you brought in Cornell Powell, and you have options.
Mecole Hardman, he's been the most bipolar fantasy football play of all time, right? He's either getting -1 points, or he's getting 30 points, and like those are the two outcomes for him. Like, so Mecole Hardman was a fairly significant investment that Kansas City made. Your expectation now should be like, you're going to take a little bit bigger role in this offense. So that would be the first place that I look. And I understand like his build is different than Sammy Watkins's. I understand that. But if the appeal for Sammy Watkins was the spacing, Mecole's speed should certainly help space the field appropriately if you put him in that role.
Defensively, I don't think we're talking enough about Jerron Reed now being part of this defensive line to go with Derek Nottie and Chris Jones and Frank Clark. Tershawn Wharton showed them some life last year. Mike Dana showed them some life last year. I think linebacker, I like where they're at linebacker-wise. They wind up losing Damian Wilson, who was a starter for the last couple of seasons. But, Willie Gay is waiting in the wings. They drafted Nick Bolton in the second round. Anthony Hitchens is here. I think they have a couple of lottery tickets at corner in DeAndre Baker and Mike Hughes, a couple former number 1 picks, that if you get something from those guys, they can really help you, because you already have that foundation of L'Jarius Sneed, Travarius Ward, and Rashad Fenton, who you should be comfortable with those players based on what they've shown. Now you have those other 2 guys in this mix to go with the safety trio of Thornhill, Sorensen, and Honey Badger. Like, come on. Like, this team, we talk about Mahomes, right? There's so much more to this team, and it's got the best friggin' coach in Andy Reid, or second best coach in the league, whatever you want to call
How impressive is it that a lot of the big contributors that they got were either low draft picks or UDFAs? Like, that is the sign of a team that has identified roles on the roster that need to be filled, and identifying individual traits or a handful of traits out of the massive lexicon of all the individual skills that you can have for players who can come in and fill that specific role. And I think that's the best possible sign of team building, when you have a team as good as Kansas City is. And maybe they were a little top heavy last year from a roster construction standpoint, but a team that is as good as Kansas City is, who still has UDFAs who can come in and carve out niche roles.
Yep.
You're on a roll as far as how you're building your roster.
Yep. 100%, Kyle. Nick Allegretti, 7th round pick, wound up playing a ton of snaps for them last year. Rashad Fenton, a 6th round pick out of South Carolina, has been a key player for them for 2 years now.
Yep.
Thornhill, I think, is a friggin' star in the making. He's a 2nd round pick. Mike Dana, a 5th round pick, is a meaningful player for them. L'Jarius Sneed, rising star at slot corner in the 4th round.
You mentioned Wharton as a UDFA on the defensive line too.
Dude, it's like, I think we had this conversation last year. Like, if they're going to be hitting on these players, with any level of consistency,
right, then go ahead and trade your 1st round pick for Orlando Brown Jr. Right? Go ahead. If you're getting that quality on day 3 at the end of the draft, go right ahead.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Now you want to talk about the Packers?
Yeah, I think we should, because they're in this conversation for a reason, despite the rumblings. I mean, like, even if Aaron Rodgers comes back, it's still awkward as hell, right? Like, seriously. And we still have him here in this game at this point, because the rest of their team's friggin' good, and Aaron Rodgers was the best football player in the planet last year.
Right. So when you think about Green Bay offensively, they're bringing back all their cornerstone players, right? Adams, Bakhtiari. They managed to strike a deal with Aaron Jones. Elgton Jenkins has been very good. They got the rest of this gaggle of big-bodied wide receivers, and then they add Amari Rodgers to the mix on top of that, which is a fit that I really like. They did lose Corey Linsley in free agency. He went to the Los Angeles Chargers, so that's a loss up front for them. But other than that, like, the gang's back as of right now. Plus, you add Amari Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers won MVP last year with this supporting cast. And I understand the perception and need for more around him, but look at the production that he did put together with the group that he had last year.
How comfortable are you with this offensive line? I know you mentioned Elgin Jenkins. We know about Bakhtiari. He's coming off of injury, but Billy Turner at right tackle, Lucas Patrick at right guard, John Runyon at left guard. Hopefully Josh Myers can claim a starting gig. I mean, they're not as solid as they've been in the past on the offensive line. I don't think that's close either.
Their roster construction almost looks offensively like what Kansas City's did last year.
Good take.
It's different type of wide receivers, but just as far as elite quarterback, and I think that's the big thing to take away is, until you get to the absolute pinnacle, the Super Bowl or the conference championship game, quarterbacks can mitigate so much of protection and pressure issues by understanding what's happening. And I think that's the maturation of Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback, and he's been phenomenal at it for forever, is if there was a kind of quarterback that I was going to trust to manage a talent, I don't want to say talent deficient, but maybe not as strong as an offensive line as he's had in years past, it's a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who is so cerebral and in complete control of everything at the line of scrimmage.
Defensively, Eric Stokes, let's hope he can claim that job from Kevin King, because I felt like that was the only spot. I mean, maybe you could hope for a little bit more at off-ball linebacker, but they like Barnes and Martin. But up front, I mean, Kenny Clark, Dean Lowry, Rashawn Gary really emerged last year. You got the Smith brothers, who are unbelievable.
Man,
Jair Alexander's a top 5 corner.
I forgot they added Slayton to this front too.
Tadaro Slayton's a big body guy in the middle.
Their odd man fronts are such a fun group between Kenny Clark, Dean Lowry, Kingsley Keke, Tadaro Slayton, and then you add in the actual edge rushers of Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary and Zadarius Smith, who can play with his hand in the dirt, and that's a fun group.
Yep. And versatility in the back end. Amos has been a really solid player for them at safety.
Savage is a top blank safety in the NFL.
Good one. He's a good one.
Top blank.
What is that, Joe? That's not an answer.
Answer the question, you coward.
10.
10.
Yeah.
I was going to say 10 as well.
I'd say 6.
Let's not do that right now.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
did we give Jair Alexander his fair?
I said he was a top 5 corner in the NFL. I think that was respectful, right?
Okay, yes. So, I guess the long story short is we now have these two teams playing against each other, and we just got done complimenting what Green Bay can do up front defensively. But Kansas City's offensive line, even if Kyle Long is hurt, I think is well equipped to neutralize some of that. And then obviously you have Patrick Mahomes. We just got done talking about quarterbacks. What about coaching dynamics here? What's at play here that could tilt the scales? Because I think there's good matchups from a talent perspective on both sides for both teams.
I know that this isn't really a scheme related take, but I think Matt LaFleur is going to be better for what he went through in that NFC Championship game. I think it sucks in the moment, and there's been plenty of jokes made about it since, but sometimes going through that, and if you do embrace a growth mindset, I think he'll be better for it. They got Joe Barry now running this defense. Nathaniel Hackett back at offensive coordinator. How this defense evolves under Joe Barry is going to be critical, and how Matt LaFleur evolves from the NFC Championship game will be critical.
Can we, real quick, before we pick the game, because I know we're up against it for the end of the show here, was there a more unfair criticism from that NFC Championship game than critiquing Rodgers for not running the ball down there in the red zone? When you realize that the defender that he would have had to beat to score was Devin White. Is Aaron Rodgers going to get there on Devin White?
Not a chance I'd take.
It's not the first criticism I would levy in that situation, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a play on that drive where a ball was dropped that would have been a touchdown?
Yes.
Like the play before?
Yeah, I mean, they should have had a touchdown on that drive.
So it's not like it's all Rodgers. Like,
right. I just thought that was a really you need context for that play and that decision in real time to understand. Correct. Oh, it's number 40. Like he runs a 4.3 at 245 pounds. He'll probably kill me, and he'll definitely get to me before I get to where I'm supposed to go. Go look at closing Devin White's clips last year from closing distance and how fast it happens, and then tell me Aaron Rodgers is going to get there on Devin White. I don't think it happens. So, give me the better coach. I pick Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm picking Kansas City as well.
Chris, your services are not required. But if they were required, he left. He said, no, I'm not doing this. I was going to ask him who he was going to pick, and he just failed. Who are you picking? Who would you have picked?
I would pick the Chiefs.
Okay.
Yeah, I of this matchup, the way it broke down this way, I would take the Chiefs.
Speaking of, this is what the bracket looks like as things currently stand.
Shuby, are you?
Yes, sir.
I was going to ask Shuby if you are still in on your Super Bowl prediction that you've made in the past.
I am. Yes, I stand firm in that decision, and there might be a couple of dollars on it. So.
Wow.
And that is a closed doors stance, correct?
You mean you don't want me to share it here?
I mean, I'm asking you if you have shared it here.
I have not shared it on this show. I have shared it on other TDN-related live streams.
Sounds like folks should be tuning into all of the TDN live streams.
No, it was just a schedule release stream where I made my prediction there, and nothing has allowed me to waver from it. I have the Bills over the Bucs in the Super Bowl. That is my Super Bowl prediction.
So anyway, that's going to do it for us here on the live.
You don't want to look at the draft order?
It's 8:00.
My guys,
let's look at the draft order. Cash on it. Imagine. Okay. So we have Houston, Philadelphia, Jacksonville, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, Cincinnati, New York, Las Vegas, Carolina. Top 10. Joe, who's the most boned team out of this group?
Most boned, like just not in a great spot.
Yeah, it's like, man, like you really wish maybe you would have lost an extra game.
I know my
answer.
Atlanta,
Atlanta, right? Like we're creeping towards that Matt Ryan end, and they're picking 6. They don't have like extra assets or anything like that.
Behind quarterback hungry teams in Houston, Philadelphia, and Detroit.
Yep.
I feel like my pick would be Carolina, because if they're at picking 10, it means it probably didn't go necessarily the way they thought, and now they're stuck. They're 10, but like they're gonna have to move up to get a guy.
And then they still don't have any extra capital.
Jacksonville's the winner here. Picking 3, not needing a quarterback.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right.
They're the Miami Dolphins of this draft. I mean, in terms of the leverage, not.
Yep. Sit here and sell this thing to Atlanta. Yeah. Sell it to Carolina.
I think
Minnesota.
Yeah. Jacksonville finds themselves in a good spot. I think if Zach Wilson does what is anticipated, I think the Jets find themselves in a good spot. Cincinnati probably feels really good about themselves being able to trade that pick. So just from you can kind of get a good haul here, I think.
But we do need to have like 5 or 6 quarterbacks, right? Because if it's a normal year, there's like 3 that are worth a first-round pick.
Right.
You know, this ain't 2018 or 2021 again, or 2021 again.
There's a lot of contenders, but I don't think it's going to materialize for a lot of it's a question of who it's going to be. And I think just from a law of averages standpoint, we might get 3, right?
And by the way, just while you're talking, Kyle, I just noticed something. I don't think this has all of the trades in there. Right. Like Chicago's picking 19th. They don't have that pick. That pick goes to the Giants. The Seahawks are picking 26. That pick would go to the Jets. So just something.
Philadelphia has 24.
Right.
And Miami has 23 in this scenario.
So just to say that out loud, something that I thought about while I was.
Kyle, are those hard picks? Is there the Dolphins trade? Do they get whatever one's higher? Or do they get San Francisco?
They gave Philadelphia in the trade up to 6 their own pick and kept San Francisco's pick regardless.
So you are a big not 49ers fan this year.
Correct. Why do you think I pushed back on the stream last week?
Yeah, why do you think he's
it's all clicking now. I wasn't thinking of that until this moment.
Yeah.
Until this friggin' moment. So dude, I mean, imagine San Francisco bombs again this year. They're like 4 or 5 win team.
Yeah,
Miami's picking to the top 10 again.
It's really fascinating that they chose to bet on themselves against San Francisco.
Who do you think? Do you think Miami made that decision?
I do.
Yeah. They said, we want you to have our pick.
Yeah. But we want to keep San Francisco's.
If you were Philly, which one would you want?
Miami's.
That you think the world of San Francisco, so there's that.
Right.
I do, and since my friend is taking bets against my team, I'll take shots at his team. I try to play nice, but he's taking us here.
Is there a draft dude's bet coming? Which team earns a higher draft pick, 49ers or Dolphins?
No.
I'm not in on that, but maybe you two would like to do that.
No. Philadelphia also has 17 as the
if Carson plays enough time and he makes the playoff, there are conditions on that.
He'll play.
Just saying.
What else? The Jets, do they have Seattle's this year?
The Jets have Seattle's pick here this year as well. Yeah.
So they got 5 and 26.
Yes, they have 5 and 26 in this
Joe,
scenario.
Just without tipping our hand for a lot of the player evaluation stuff that we're doing, but we can kind of tease it a little bit here on the stream since this is a special group of folks that tune in with every Monday and Thursday with us. Where do you think the spot is based on what we know about this upcoming year's class of eligible players, which you might want to begin looking into maybe trading back?
Oh boy. Middle of that first round somewhere.
Yep. I was just getting ready to say, if you make the playoffs, you might want to start bracing. If you want maximum value for your pick, you might want to start entertaining a trade back. But now you're going to have a logjam scenario on your hands. If everybody's trying to get out, and not everybody will, some teams will be willing to move up, but it's hard to move because if you're trying to move back as Tennessee at 20, hypothetically, but Washington at 22 is also trying to move back. San Francisco or Miami at 23 is also trying to move back. Cleveland at 25 is trying to move back. Like, teams that are looking to move up are going to say, why would I trade all the way up to 20 if I can trade up to 25 and give up less?
Or do what happened back in the 20 draft and do a DeForest Buckner or a Stephon Diggs trade. Trade your first round pick for a player.
Yes.
If you're
so that's a fun follow-up as far as players who are getting close to needing an extension on a rookie contract, who it might be worth to flip for a 1 because you're not going to find commensurative value at the end of the first round in this upcoming year's class unless things dramatically change based on what our assessments are of the top eligible players in this year's class right now. This is not the top of this draft does not look very impressive right now, which is fascinating because all we did this past year was talk about how there will be some teams in the 2021 draft who don't like having as much information as possible as they normally have in the pre-draft process. So they'll punt on their picks and take more picks the following year. Well, now it's a bad draft class on the heels of all that. So if you did that, geez Louise, like you got to be able to pivot a little bit.
If they're in the 3rd and 4th and 5th round, you'll be happy with them. You know, like I think that, look, so much is going to change, but that's where I'm feeling the money's going to be made in the 21 draft.
A lot of ball game left, as they say. A lot of ball game left here this summer. So make sure Mondays, Thursdays, live stream, you tune in. Yes, Chris.
I just would like to make a note for everybody. There could be a little bit of a different schedule next week for the stream. So just stay tuned to the Monday podcast where we will announce what's going on. You're going to get 2 live streams next week. Just preparing everybody. There might be a change to how they're structured. Okay? So just be prepared. Monday's podcast is where we'll tell you how that's going to work out.
All of our live streams are brought to you by our friends at Mighty Swell. Tomorrow's a great Friday free-for-all on the Draft Dudes podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe. Check it out. Have a great weekend. Thanks as always for tuning in.